Hello everyone, we're about to do a yoga routine designed to create warmth and uplift our mood. Before we begin, you might like a hot beverage. I've gone for some lemon green tea for myself today, a couple blocks, and a strap or whatever you have around the house, a belt, whatever it might be, to help with some shoulder mobility. So get set up and then we'll get started. So the intention with this routine today is to bring our energy up, create some movement and warmth without overwhelming. Often as we move into the winter season, it can leave us feeling quite depleted. So we're not working to 100% today. We're getting moving to kind of shake the cobwebs off and get our system started and ready to greet the day. If you do have a beverage, take as many breaks as you like to drink. Otherwise, we'll do one more sip and we'll actually start standing for today, but please do remember, we could always modify this to be seated, or maybe you're having the kind of day where you are just watching me for entertainment, imagining what it would feel like to join along. It's all good. As we so often say, take what you like and leave what you don't. We're gonna warm up through our chakras. So let's start with our root chakra. This time of year can leave us feeling flighty and unfocused. So we bring attention to our feet to be grounding into the earth, bringing earth energy up into our bodies, thinking about what it means to be firmly planted on our own 2 feet. We can wiggle our toes, bring our awareness to the soles of the feet or whatever surface our feet are touching. And let's do some heel raises and drops. So we might like to be pretty slow and cautious, steady as we go through this, or maybe we want to do some heel drops and let gravity take over a little bit so we catch ourselves and create a vibration up through the body. We might like to do more playful bounces and let the shoulders get into it too. Put a bend in the knees, let the arms shake. Yogi's choice. Whatever option we're doing, let's give it a few more. And then we will come into stillness. Option 2, turn our palms forward. We've created some energy in the feet. If by chance this is making us dizzy, we can leave the eyes open. Otherwise, we can go ahead and close the eyes. Bringing awareness to feet and legs, noticing the energy and vibration that we just created coming up the legs. Seeing how our knees and the strong muscles of our thighs are feeling today. Maybe there's a buzz of energy in our calf muscles. And we'll bring the awareness up to the pelvis. We might even want to take our hands onto the pelvis, bringing our minds to our sacral chakra. So this is in our pelvis. This is the element of water and helps us to flow through our lives. And let's do just a soft breath here. So with our inhale, encouraging a full breath without forcing. Bringing awareness to the area of the pelvis, imagining that the breath can drop deep into the pelvis. We can relax the pelvic floor muscles, or maybe you know them as pelvic core muscles. Probably aware of movement of our belly, coming in and out without forcing. Just naturally happens as we inflate our lungs. And let's move our attention higher up into our solar plexus chakra. We might want to take fingertips on top of our abdominal muscles. We're going to add a bit more hua to our breath. So let's inhale, same thing, full breath. And then this time with our exhale, we're going to use our deep inner core muscles to push the air out. So sort of that old, as they used to say, bring your belly button to your spine. We're going to use our abdominal muscles to pull up and in so that our lungs empty. Sort of a Pilates style breath. In yoga we call it an Uddiyana action sometimes. So the muscles of our abs, our solar plexus are drawing in to build a strong center. And sometimes it takes a while to get this one, to figure out the coordination. It's okay, we can be patient with ourselves, but let's do one more. Full inhale without pushing, so we don't need to push the belly out, just a neutral belly. And then with our exhale, we pull in Let's hold on to that contraction in our abdominals. We might even like to bring our hands up to our ribs as we focus our energy on our heart chakra. Inhalation, our ribs expand. We're holding that core contraction on our exhalation, and we keep a little bit of it on our inhalation. So we have a strong core hold throughout the breath, but because we have a lot of flexibility in our ribs, or at least I hope we do, we're working towards rib flexibility, we should still be able to take a deep, full breath, expanding the rib cage. We might like to have our arms by our sides, knowing that our heart chakra extends down to the fingertips. And for our throat chakra, let's do a smile breath here. We can tuck chin to chest. You don't need to watch me, but you might prefer to open the eyes. We inhale and smile. You can hold for the exhale. And then we inhale and lift the head, keeping the smile. I might like to do that again, exhaling to tuck the chin. Inhale to smile. Exhale to hold. And inhale to lift. And you might even want to speed it up, doing more head nods. Exhale to drop the chin. Inhale to lift, but we do need to have a pretty slow breath so we're not snapping the neck around. And feel free to keep this smile as long as we like. We're moving up. We got two more. Bringing our awareness to our third eye chakra, and we might like to take fingertips to our forehead. This is our intuition, our sight without seeing. And let's see if we can bring into our minds the image of something that we are looking forward to in the near future. So over the next week or month or two, something we're really looking forward to. Letting that image fill our minds. And then we can draw the fingertips away from one another, giving ourselves a massage on our foreheads. We can let the arms fall heavy by our sides. Crown is lifting to the sky. And our crown chakra represents our connection to others. So let's think about the circle of people in our lives that are here for us. Who could you call? Who do you feel warm feelings towards? Bringing to mind maybe one or two people. Maybe it's easy for you to think of a long list. And of course, the family pet counts. And then we are ready to open our eyes. Let's inhale, circle, sweep up. And we're going to do a strong press down towards the earth. So we have balanced energy between earth and sky. Pushing down. Again, standing strong on our own 2 feet. Our ribs expand with our inhale. Our abs pull in. We're planted, we're balanced, but we have this freedom of movement through the arms. We can have an optimistic body position that our heart and chin lift. Let's do one more here. And we're going to start building heat. We can take hands to heart center. Let's go ahead and sit into chair. We might like to give our toes a little wiggle at the bottom. And then at the top, let's inhale, stretch the arms up overhead like we're holding a giant beach ball. Take a seat into chair. So that's it. We have more of an optimistic chair today than we might be doing on other days. We're building heat in the lower body. And building optimism up overhead. Yes, we can go with a modified range of motion. We know that. Okay, last one here. Let's pause at the top in this power pose, reaching up and out. Bringing a breath into our hearts. And then let's work with our breath here. We're going to pull down strong. So we inhale up. Let's do that a handful of times at least. So everybody's different. I find I like to do lots of these, but I'll give us enough time to do 10 more. Rest if you need to. Keep that core strong as we go. Balanced and steady. Last 3, 2, last one. Perfect. We'll keep these strong arms here, holding our strength, and let's make sure we have some space to step forward. I like to take the feet from the center and then step wide onto the mat. Back to the center, wide onto the mat. We're going to alternate right and left. So we keep our strong arms, stepping forward into maybe a Tai Chi kind of lunge. And depending on how strong we're feeling, we might want to do a big step forward and a big lunge. And we can put our arms with it and then pull back in. So we're creating strength through our upper body movements. I like to think of this one as setting healthy boundaries. As we're coming closer to the holiday season, we might feel the pressure to say yes to everyone and everything. Sometimes we need to say stop. No, not today. And I do like to go pretty quickly for your sake, for your balance. Yeah, we might be going much more slowly. Make it work for your own needs here today. Okay, let's all step with the right foot forward. We're going to take hands to heart, and we're going to turn and twist towards the right. If we go backwards, that's okay. We're not going to hurt ourselves, but ideally we're pulling from the core, turning and twisting towards the right. Elbows stay up, shoulders stay down, holding our strength, challenging our balance and coordination. We'll come back through center, and let's go ahead and switch to the other side. Opposite side forward, get settled, strong with the arms. Left foot in front, so we're twisting to the left. We hold here, tweak it out, make it comfortable for yourself. We'll bring it back through center. We'll step the feet together, and we might be ready for our strap. So let's do some shoulder mobilizers, and this strap increases what we call our dynamic tension, or our muscular energy, our ability to tense our muscles and have our muscles engaged. If I'm just moving my arms around, maybe I'm really floppy, but if I'm holding a strap, I can put tension on the strap, and then I know I have that feedback. I can feel it. I can look at the strap and see that it's not flapping around. So as we go through our goddess pose or our sun and moon flowers, we're going to keep tension on the strap. Okay, so we can lower down. And then at the top, keep that tension on the strap, reach overhead. Similar to what we did with our chair flow, reaching up overhead and then lowering down. So we're creating more tension, which means more strength in the back of the arms, which can be really nice to develop strength to hold posture. Often we get really tight through the winter as we hold closed like this because it's cold, and then anything we can do to open up and out can be really helpful. Might be more comfortable to take the arms wider, and if anybody at home does have a pretty intense mobility practice and you want to do big circles up, around, and back, perfect, you can. Maybe some of us have just had a recent surgery. We might not be lifting very high, but we can all be feeling out our range of motion, noticing what's going on in the shoulders, looking for that comfort edge, sort of poking the bear, getting close to a little bit of discomfort, but we don't want to hurt ourselves, right? We can go side to side. And do be careful, I have a shorter strap. You might need to double yours over so it doesn't hit you in the face as you go, which sometimes does happen. Okay, we'll give it a couple more here. Whatever you're working on, finish it up. Beautiful. Let's take this in behind our backs. Palms forward. So when we reach and interlace our fingers, we lose that palms forward. So we can have, just like we did, tension pulling out, but still the alignment of our palms coming forward so we're open across our collarbones. We could be high or low here if we want to get a lot of lower body work. We are spreading our toes, strong energy pulling up from the earth. We pull our hands away from one another, and then it might feel nice to do some movements to loosen up in our chest opener position. So let your body be your guide. Sometimes it's nice to take this one side to side, a little movement front and back, And sometimes it really loosens up the neck to engage the muscles of our shoulders as we pull the hands away from one another and drop those shoulder blades down. All right, we'll turn the toes forward and we'll come just halfway down, and we might actually even be taking our hands to our thighs to support our balance and our backs. Although we could still have our arms winging backwards if we like. Let's take one deep breath in here, picturing our spine growing longer. We'll come up to center, and we can get rid of our strap for now, and then use it as necessary. Let's do some warriors here. So we'll keep the feet wide, and I will mirror you for today. So let's start with the right foot. So we're gonna turn right toes to the right side wall, and we're coming into our warrior 2 position. We're gonna keep working with those shoulders. We can take hand to thigh or forearm to thigh as we make our way into a side angle pose. And let's start by rolling out our top shoulder. So we have right hand or right forearm to right thigh, which means that now our left arm is free, and we might like to make big sweeping shoulders like we're brushing our hair. Take it in behind the head. We can inhale as we reach and exhale as we release. Remember I said circling movements can be good for loosening up our joints if we have issues with stiffness at this time of year. Anything circling, or not even circling, but moving in and out of a pose, forward and back, rather than just holding a pose, the movement can help lubricate our joints and loosen things up. If we're ready for a triangle, we can straighten the front leg. We can have our hand to shin or thigh, and maybe a couple more circles here. And yes, we do have our blocks. We could be using blocks. We're gonna use our core. On an exhale, pull our abs in to help us stand up. And we are ready for the second side. Okay, pointing left to left, bending the left knee, and this time we know what's coming. We could take hand or forearm to thigh, circling the right shoulder, loosening it up. So as we move into the winter, maybe we spend more time curled up under the covers and less time moving through the world. Maybe it's just the cold or the dehydration. We might notice more stiffness in our joints. So we might need to spend a bit more time doing this kind of circling mobility or being patient with ourselves, as the stretches that we could do in July, it's gonna take us twice as long to get into them by December. Maybe, depends on who you are. So these circles can be big or small, and of course, the range of motion might be really different from one side to the other, depending on previous injuries. You know, I have an injury to one side and not the other, so it's gonna be different. You may have had surgery one side different from the other, slept funny last night, whatever that may be. So we're developing the self-awareness to know where that comfort edge is and where to push our range of motion from side to side. We can do our triangle variation if we like. And our next exhale, let's bring ourselves up through center. Inhale, ribs expand. Exhale, we pull in, and we're ready. Perfect. All right, let's give our legs a bit of a break. We'll walk it in. We've done some movement. Let's do some steadiness. We're gonna do our balance pose. Of course, we might wanna hold onto a chair or a wall or something like that. Let's come into a flowing variation of dancer's pose. So I'll show you with my leg closest to you first. So we'll pick one leg to balance on, and the other leg is gonna move. So we're gonna bend and straighten. It's a variation of a quad stretch, working on that theme of instead of just jerking ourselves into our dancer's pose, slow and steady, warming up our range of motion. I like to picture, like in The Wizard of Oz, they take the oil can to the Tin Woodsman's joints. That's what I picture we're doing here. We're taking the oil can to our knees. And we can hold here in what I like to call a flamingo variation. We can pull the arms back like we already did. Super strong upper body. And then, yeah, we might like to do a variation of a quad stretch or dancer's pose, but everyone's working within their own range of motion at home, right? Wherever we are, we'll make sure we're breathing. We could take hand to heart instead of pulled back. If we feel we're being too hard on ourselves, maybe we take hand to heart to be a little softer on ourselves. I like to pause, acknowledge that I've done it well. So if you fall out, reset, and then use an exhale to release. You may have a different way to do that, but that's okay. Let's do the other side. All right. Find our good side to balance, find a good spot on the floor. Here we are, like a flamingo. And I even wore pink today. And actually that is a recommendation for our chakras, to wear colors associated with our chakra. So I could have worn, if we're focusing on root chakra, a nice red. I think it's nice as we move into the winter season as well to wear these warm colors to warm us up from our clothes. Bright colors, like on a drab gray day, it's raining today. I don't think gray is a top color choice if the weather is gray. So I decided to go, okay, pink, which some say is the color of self-compassion. So you may like that. If we're ready to hold our flamingo, we can. We can pull our strong muscle arms back if we feel we're working on building internal strength. If you feel you're being a little too hard on yourself lately, we might want to take a hand to heart or both hands to heart. And yeah, if some of us like that quad stretch variation, we could be going for that as well. But we know we don't have to, right? So we could be using our hamstring muscles to hold us here and instead be using our hands on heart or at our sides to give ourselves the energetic qualities we're looking for, soft and or strong. Okay, let's go ahead and release. Oh, and we actually can grab our blocks. We'll do a couple of grounding poses, meaning getting in touch with the ground. You might notice your brain is not operating at full tilt at this time of year. Sometimes dehydration or life pressures or whatever it is can be a factor, and getting close to the earth can help us out. So we take our feet wide, we start to bend our knees, hinging forward so we're not slumping forward. Sometimes people say, imagine we could balance a tray of drinks on our back. So our back is flat like a table, and then we can use our blocks to help us get closer to the floor. We could bend our knees more deeply. So sometimes we feel like we really want to straighten our legs to get the most out of the stretch, but actually if you're really tight or counterintuitive, if you're really flexible, bending the knees can help us to release the muscles around the joint. And depending on who we are, we'll have the blocks on a different height, or maybe under our forearms or under the head. We can have some movement side to side or lifting up and down, but this will be our last standing pose before we take it down to our mats. Stay here a little longer if we like. I'll give us an option for child's pose, so we can walk to the short edge of the mat if you prefer to turn side like me. And we can take a block under the forehead, again to be more grounded. Maybe we like 2 blocks, so we want to be up a lot higher. And if we rest our forehead down, again we're bringing awareness to our third eye, so we can use this as an opportunity to picture something that we are looking forward to. Maybe bringing a pleasant wintry image into our minds. Are we looking forward to that first snow and the quiet that it brings? Rainy days like today can bring headaches, so it might feel nice to turn the head side to side, ironing any stress out of the forehead. And then let's make our way to lie on our bellies. And this one can be modified just holding on all fours, building a similar kind of core strength. But if we're okay to lie on our bellies, let's go ahead and bring it down. And we'll do a variation of locust pose again, because the winter is cold and it wreaks havoc on our posture and we're very curled forward. We want to do stuff to open our hearts and lift up and build our back muscles. So we can have our toes tucked or feet planted flat, whatever is the most comfortable. But let's push our feet and our legs down so the lower body is engaged. And we can do as we did earlier, having our arms alongside our body and shoulders rolled down and back. So we did this when we were standing, right? We can have that same kind of imagining that gravity is pulling our fingertips towards the earth like we did when we were standing, except now we're lying on our bellies, so we have to use our muscles to bring them down. Reaching fingertips towards our heels and using our back muscles to lift off the mat into a variation of locust. Could I be using my hands for support? Yes, of course. This one can be quite tough, can be a real challenge if this is a body position that you never move your body into. So let's work in a reasonable range of motion. I have clients that just getting the nose a millimeter off the mat does wonders because it's a real challenge for them. So let's all work with our own range of motion. Some of us may like to bring that flamingo sensation into our legs, bending the legs. Some of us might be able to hold on to our ankles in a variation of bow pose. But no matter where we are sending our heart energy forward using the strong muscles of our backs. We're gonna lower, and we can make our way back to maybe child's or tabletop. So if lying on your belly wasn't an option, like I said, we could have even been in tabletop the whole time, or all fours. But if we're all right with it, let's rest back in child's for a moment. Seeing if we can send our breath into our ribs again. And we'll come and take a seated position. You might like to sit on your blocks or sit on a cushion. We'll do a little something here to hold some heat in our core before we cool down. So again, we can take our fingertips to our core, or maybe we want to have these strong arms pulled back, strong back muscles pulling the elbows back. And we're going to turn and twist. So we pull from our abdominal muscles and our back muscles. As we turn to the right side of the back has to kick in to pull us there. We come back through center, we take a breath in, make sure we're sitting tall. And then as we turn to the left side of the back pulls us there. So we're using some strength to pull us in. We might want to punch across. So the right elbow keeps pulling back, even as the left arm reaches across. Inhale, center, tall spine. Punching across. We'll come back through center. And let's come into a variation of tortoise pose. So I like to put my feet quite far away. Instead of a more typical butterfly pose, I like to have my feet far away. It helps to stretch the outside of the ankles, which is nice for a lot of us. It's just a different angle. And this is one of the few poses in yoga where we actually round our backs. Generally, we keep a straight spine and hinge forward, which we can do. But if you're a fan of rounding your back, we can start to round forward into this like a tortoise, feeling safe inside its shell. So we can bring this energetic feeling of safety into this pose. Seeing if you can add some shifts or fidgets to feel more safe, more at home in our own bodies while we're here. As we sink deeper in the pose, maybe we're inhaling for a count of 4 and exhaling for a count of 8. We could play with the numbers. We could inhale for 4, exhale for 5, whatever we like. But the idea is to have our exhale a little bit longer to help us fold further and calm ourselves a bit more with our breath. So that extended exhale for most people helps us to feel more peaceful in a kind of low energy way. Not low energy meaning a low mood kind of way, meaning that we are cooling down. Maybe imagining our muscles melting on our exhale. We'll use an inhale to bring us up. Let's take the legs forward. We might notice the ankles want to move or crack, pop, something like that. And let's take ourselves in the opposite direction. We'll do a seated back bend. We can leave our legs straight. I prefer to cross my legs. And then we're lifting our hearts here, letting our fingertips support us in behind to lift up. Let's do our smile breath one more time. We're gonna lift the corners of the mouth. Inhale as we reach our hearts up. And then our next exhale can bring us back to seated. Let's cool down through our chakras. So we warmed up through our chakras, we'll cool down through them. And even if we're in a rush, I think to help us regulate our mood and our cortisol levels and our relaxation, we should always have time at the end of an energizing session for a little bit of a cool down. So that's it, we're here. We're gonna do just a little bit of a cool down. Let's bring our fingertips to the top of the head, applying a little pressure. Noticing the hum of energy in our minds, maybe noticing how our thoughts are flowing now as we bring awareness to crown chakra. Again, we can bring our fingertips to the space between our eyebrows, bringing awareness to our third eye. And then we can draw the fingers away from one another, massaging the forehead. Maybe we shake those hands off. We can let our hands rest. Let's do our smile breath again. We tuck chin to chest. We can let our faces relax. Put a little smile on our faces. And then with our inhale, we lift our head. We can leave our eyes closed here. Let's bring our hands to our ribs. Inhale, we feel our ribs expand. Bringing awareness to our heart space, noticing the beating of our hearts at this moment. Maybe we're feeling a little looser in our shoulders and our ribs. We can take our fingertips to our core. With our exhale, we still have that strong pull in. We can relax it a little bit on the inhale. And we'll finish with Apana Mudra. So we can take our thumb and our middle two fingers together, so our first finger and our pinkies are free. And we can leave that back of the hands plant on the knees. And of course we could work this out however we feel most comfortable, but the main idea is that our thumb comes towards our middle finger and our ring finger to touch, and then our pinky and our first finger are free. Let's bring our awareness to our sacral chakra. So bringing awareness to the pelvic bowl, imagining the breath drops all the way down into the pelvic bowl. And Apana Mudra is supposed to bring our energy down. We can tap into the element of water in our pelvis, our second chakra here, to feel the breath is flowing. And maybe bringing the image of still waters into our mind. So maybe we feel, or before now, today, we were a rushing river or a hurricane. Now can we picture ourselves as a perfectly still pond? Finally coming down to our root chakra, earth energy, noticing our base resting down on your yoga mat or your chair. Firmly seated and planted. Maybe picturing the still water. What's it surrounded by? Forest, earth, beach, whatever that may be. Some element of earth, most likely. And feeling all of our chakras moving towards greater balance at this moment, we can bring hands to heart center, giving ourselves an inner thank you for being here and thanking our bodies for pulling us through our movement session today. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste.